All right, welcome to the podcast. On today's show with the founder of Heraclea. Thanks for joining. For people who don't know, what is Heraclea? What's the company do?
Heraclea is a premium olive oil brand that brings high quality extra virgin olive oil from Turkey to US. So it's simply put, it's a premium olive oil brand.
And this is a family business for you. You've been doing, your parents have been doing this, maybe your grandparents.
Yeah. Not for business.
Okay.
We had been involved in olive oil production, but it's actually me who turned this into a business. Before Heraclea, there had been grows, and we would still cultivate the olives and make the oil, but we would not sell it. We would just consume it among family and friends, and that's actually the oil I grew up with that made me decide to
start a company?
Sell it in the US, because to me, like, it didn't exist before Heraclea, honestly.
Yeah. So you grew up, did you grow up in America?
No, in Turkey.
In Turkey, okay. And then you come here and you're trying to find a good olive oil, you can't find one. And so then you're reminded of back home and how good that tastes. And so at some point you go, all right, do you just start shipping it here and then sharing it with your friends and family? Or what's your, or are you like, we got to start the company?
Yeah.
We just got to go.
So before Heraclea, I was an attorney. So
okay.
it goes back to my story of
what kind of law?
Antitrust.
Okay.
So I came to US to become a lawyer after watching Suits.
The American dream.
This is like 2010 or something, I don't know.
Okay.
So I came here for college and then took the LSATs, went to law school, passed the bar, moved to DC and started working.
How many years did you do that?
The whole thing took like 8 years.
Yeah.
But that's like college and law school involved, including. But like I worked for a year in DC at a nonprofit focusing on antitrust. And then I realized, like, because of many things, that this is not going to end well for me, the whole profession. Because like the work-life balance and the things you must do to like proceed in your career and stuff like that.
It's a lot of work, you're saying.
Yeah,
to get on the partner track, you got to work like 100 hours a week. It's not healthy.
Too much. Like, it's not needed, in my opinion.
Sure.
And so I tried to find, because I going back to Turkey was never an option for me.
Okay.
Didn't want that. So I tried to figure something that I could do here that not a lot of people do. That's going to differentiate me, because also I'm like a little ambitious in that regard. I want to do something good with my life. So I've opened the idea to my family, like, why not we sell Turkish olive oil in the US, because there's no Turkish olive oil brand in the US right now. Like at the time we were thinking about this.
That's right, yeah.
Yet, like, when you look at the data, you see like Turkey is one of the largest olive oil producers in the world.
Interesting.
But there's little representation on shelf because there are no brands.
So it's just nobody wanted to try.
No, it exists, but the Turkish producers chose bulk exporting rather than selling branded products.
Got it. Okay.
And, you know, there are many reasons to that as well. But because there were no Turkish brands, I think it was a no-brainer for someone like me to come up and make the first.
And so when it came to olive oil, where does most olive oil come from? Because I know like there's some from California probably.
5% of U.S. consumption comes from California. 95% of it is imported.
From
Spain, Italy, Turkey, Greece, Tunisia, Morocco.
Okay.
But there are what we call major producing countries in the world, and these are Spain, Italy, Greece, and Turkey.
Okay.
But then you have Morocco, Tunisia, Palestine, and many other countries that also like produce olive oil.
So when you called your family and you brought this idea to them, what did they say?
Well, my father is, he's a medical doctor, but like an entrepreneur type of guy. So he jumped into it. He said, like, let's do it. It makes total sense. There were some family members that like objected because I was upfront with them. I knew the landscape. We're going to spend a lot of money. We're not going to take outside investors because I don't believe in taking outright investors for a brand like this when we're trying to become a legacy brand. That's how I would like to put it.
A family brand.
Yes. We don't have a 2-year, 3-year, 5-year agenda. I'm looking at it from a 20-year perspective. We're literally trying to create the first like global Turkish olive oil, premium Turkish olive oil brand. And that requires a very long-term investment. We shouldn't be short-sighted.
Sure.
After all, like, they bought into the idea, and we actually we had the growth, but we didn't have the facilities.
Okay.
So in 6 months' time, we built a processing facility from ground up, got all the food safety certificates and everything.
Where did you build it?
In Turkey, Milas, which is,
Okay.
you have to build it next to your grove.
Got it.
You harvest the olives and then you have to press them within like 4 to 6 hours.
Okay.
You have to be fast with it, because if it waits, then fermentation starts and it degrades the quality of the oil.
Interesting.
So everything, like whole production, has to be in one place.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you build a facility, but the hard part of doing this is probably like creating the brand, getting this in retailers' hands, getting the person to try it.
Yeah.
And so what was your strategy in terms of getting the word out in America?
Well, I never had a playbook, to be honest with you. And
That's probably a good thing.
It was actually one of my family members who said, like, we're building this facility here. We bought more and more land. We have right now 200 acres.
Mm-hmm.
And with the neighboring farms that we're just bringing under our supply, under fair trade, which we can discuss, it's like 500 acres right now of supply. Yeah, one family member said, like, you don't have a single customer and you're putting all this money into this.
It's the
thing.
best question. Okay.
And I'm like, yes, today, yes, no, 0 customers. But I know, like, tomorrow when we finish all this and get to, like, start to, like, go for them, we will find them. It's like, it's given, like, it's going to happen.
Okay. Where did that confidence come from for you?
I don't know. I just, it's hard to describe. I just felt like this is it. This is gonna happen.
Okay.
There's no other way. It's 100%.
You were
I was
convinced.
so convinced.
Yeah, that's
still
everything.
am. Like I'm just super convinced that
I love that.
it's all gonna work out.
Yeah. Okay. So then you guys are producing all this stuff.
Yeah.
You're bottling it, but you also have to create a brand
Yeah.
in some way, right? So you're doing all the design work, probably bottling. You
Yeah.
get to a place you like it, and then how do you launch it? How do you launch the company?
It all happened simultaneously. Like we were building the facility, I was working on the branding. They did the first round of branding. Everything was finalized,
Mm-hmm.
and then I looked at it, and then I said, "This isn't gonna work out," and I shut it off, and then hired
A new
group
firm.
to work on it again.
Okay.
And it came to a point still where I didn't totally liked it, but we
Okay.
were losing so much time. I said, like, let's go with it.
Yeah.
And finally, I'm feeling very confident with these because this is the new version of the old bottles. I think you received the old bottles.
These are
different
really
look.
nice. I mean, the branding's great. It looks awesome. The design is awesome.
Yeah. Well, it's all teamwork. I mean, we hired agencies, but never truly gave it to them and do your thing. We always had a vision of how we want it to look. Simple. I want it to look very simple.
Yeah.
But also Heraclea. So they made it come to life, based on our feedback.
So how did you first start getting this in the mouths of Americans?
First, it was all D2C was my vision. I never thought I would sell it to retail.
Yeah.
But then after getting into business in 1 or 2 months, it all changed. And then we hired a very big broker.
Okay.
And started doing
To help you with retailers,
what
distribution.
every brand does. After a year, I realized it's not working. It's not working because, again, a brand like Heraclea selling olive oil, you're selling premium olive oil. There is quality and integrity that are key to this product.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say a store with 1,000 locations said, I want to buy Heraclea. There's a time for it. It's supposed to happen in 1 or 2 years, but it wasn't supposed to happen from day one. Every brand owner would love the idea of getting into the biggest chains. It really depends on the product. You can mass produce this to some extent, but you have to be very mindful. If you are claiming quality and the premium nature of this is key, and you can always grow your supply, but you have to be very mindful that you have to take it step by step. Okay. So then we, after a year, canceled our contract with that broker, and what we're doing right now is we have an inside sales team, and we have 1,000 accounts in mind. These are infra stores, co-ops, where we give them a call, explain the product, send them samples, and wait for them to place their first order. We give them a great deal on their first order. And we just started this actually. It's been a month, and we're in 20 new locations just because of this program. Okay. So that's what I like to do.
So you took it into your own hands. You hire them, your own team, your own script. They're probably speaking to the farm, your family, the tradition, and then the taste and the quality. You're probably educating the retailer. And then you just ship them the product, or do you hold events for them? What is that? What's the second part of the sales funnel?
So they place their first order. It's usually a really good deal on the first order.
In terms of quantity and price, both?
In terms of price and quantity, yeah, both.
Okay.
Basically like a free fill.
Yeah, got it.
So, but you get you get into the store, and then you follow up, of course, in 1 or 2 weeks. Actually, in 2 weeks we're seeing reorders. So we send them a case of product, and then each product, and then in 2 weeks we see a reorder, which means like this is a case of, those are case of 12. So like in 14 days they're able to sell 1 case of that product, which is for olive oil. Like for a beverage, maybe they sell a case a day. But like olive oil is a beast of its own. It's a totally different category. It's very traditional. A lot of consumers have their own brands that they've been using for some time. It's not easy to make the shift. Sure. So the looks are very important. But then I think once you taste it, we're seeing the results. I mean, people are switching. Yeah. So it's really about getting that next order after the free fill.
Okay, give me a window into the consumer of olive oil. And so I have probably 6 bottles of olive oil. I would say I'm relatively brand agnostic. I don't know the difference between olive oil or extra virgin olive oil. I want to. I don't know why I buy it. I think someone told me to do it, so I just do it. I don't know if it's great for cooking, bad for cooking. I don't know if it's healthy. I assume it is. So what is the consumer? What is your consumer? Who are they? How often do they buy? Am I normal, right? Or they have like 6 different brands in their pantry?
Yeah, you're normal. You're standard U.S. consumer.
Dumb guy in the market.
No, I mean just not like I'm coming from the Mediterranean region.
Yeah.
So I grew up on this, right?
Right.
It's totally normal. Like I said, I mean California accounts for 5%. It's a region of the largest country in the world. Like you're living in God knows where. Maybe it's totally normal that you don't know what olive oil is. Yeah. That's totally fine. In our case, it's not like that. We that's the only oil we used. We don't use butter. We don't use canola oil. Okay. I learned about canola oil when I came to US. I didn't know it existed. We have sunflower oil, which is like good for cooking and stuff. Okay. But to us, like olive oil is the best oil, and it's everywhere. We didn't have to go to Irvine or like Whole Foods to find the best olive oil. It's literally everywhere.
And are consumers mostly deciding on price? Is it the look and price?
The look is key, and then depending on the account, every account and their respective customers have different price sensitivities. So it's hard to say that like all customers are looking for price.
Sure, but the look.
Yes, the look, yes. But I think the premium olive oil customers are aware that really good olive oil is expensive, and they're okay with it because they know what it means to produce this. Okay. They know the distinction between mass versus small batch. They know what a family-owned olive oil company is versus like those large conglomerates that just sell millions of bottles. Yeah. So it's easier to convince those customers that to make them, buy your product.
So when you got here, you said something. So you said, I have a bottle at the house, but you said this one was better because it's fresh, it's brand new. And so what is the best time to have olive oil? How fresh is like the key period, and how long does olive oil last? I don't think many people know how long olive oil lasts.
So olive harvest starts in October of every year and goes until December, sometimes January. Okay. So the best time to buy olive oil is like February, March, April. Okay. I think all the way all the way to June. Okay. And the thing about summer is olive oil hates heat. So summertime is hot. So and then 95% of this product is imported. So it's coming from Europe. If a company is shipping their olive oil in June, in that ship, the heat goes up to like 80, 90, 100 Fahrenheit during the ocean trip. And, it's going to affect the quality of the oil. Like it's 100% going to affect the quality.
Yeah,
So that's what I mean by freshness. Like if you open that bottle up right now, and because we calculate, like we have times in a year where we ship this product.
What are the times?
Right now, like so
February and like October?
As we speak, a container is on the road coming here because we want to avoid shipping in summertime.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah. I bought wine in Italy and they did that. It was July when I bought it. And then they said, we're not going to ship it to you until October, at the end of October for that reason. Because then if it gets damaged because of the heat, big problem.
It's very important, but I'm saying I don't think many brands or companies really care about that. Because you cannot, I mean, if you're like selling 1 million bottles and if you have to make that shipment.
That's right. It's a different philosophy.
You have to make it.
Yeah. So this company's been in existence for a year and a half.
Yeah, in March
roughly.
It'll be our 2nd year anniversary.
And you're going to Expo West.
Yeah.
What are you hoping for this year? So it's early 2025. What do you want to do with the company this year? What is the goal?
Well, we have a big announcement, which is we are fair trade certified now, and we are the only olive oil brand in the US that is fair trade certified.
What does fair trade certified mean?
Fair trade certified means we are when we say we're committed to sustainability or fair wages or ethical working standards, like maybe you noticed, but a lot of brands are using these phrases right now.
Yes.
Everyone is using them.
All the time.
And it kind of started bugging me that everyone is using them, and I started feeling pretentious, even though I'm not. Like, even though I founded this company on this foundation, because everyone around me started using these buzzwords, it started bugging me, and I got into a search to find a way to verify and separate us from the rest.
Okay.
So we got in touch with Fair Trade USA. It's a company that facilitates fair trade certification for, cocoa producers, sugar, tea, coffee, basically verifying your claims about your supply chain, that you're not like abusing workers, no child labor is used, no pregnant women are, used. Like it's all according to international labor standards, which is ILO, which is out there. There's a whole standard on that. And that's just one part of it. There's also environmental aspect. Like you are not to use pesticides or any chemicals, or like your production shouldn't damage the environment, etc. It's a 200-page long standard. Wow. So we got that this year, and it's tied to our supply. And the question of like, is Heraclea able to get into a store with 500 locations? Before this, our supply was limited because, like I said, 200 acres, family grows. Yeah. That's limited. The only way you can grow is if you want to keep that family-owned thing is to acquire more and more land, which is super expensive. It's still like we will still continue to acquire land because that's what we do, but the fair trade enables you to bring neighboring farms under one roof, bring them up to your standard in agriculture, ensure that they're not exploiting illegal migrants. It's if you go in and type into Google like illegal migrant workers in olive harvesting, you're going to see a lot of like very bad stories coming out from some major European countries. Okay. Even in Turkey, like it's in today's world, like the borders are like very flexible right now, and people go on and off, and companies are exploiting vulnerable people. In olive harvesting, and we're not doing it, and we want to be verified that we're not doing it. Yeah.
And what do they do? What's the process? Is it just paperwork, or is it do they go to the farm? What's the
They come every year, every 3 years they do your audit without giving you notice, so they just show up. Wow. Knock the door, and like you're being audited. Yeah. And then it takes 3 days for them to audit. They're coming from Germany or like some other country to Turkey to like look at all of your paperwork. They ask that you keep all the pay stubs, all your purchases, all your sales, everything, and they question
So it's pretty thorough.
Yeah.
And so does this verification get you any goodwill with any? I'm sure it's appealing to the retailers that care about this, but
this expo will be the first opportunity for us to see that.
Okay.
But remember our conversation about inside sales. That fair trade plays a big role in that conversation, and we're seeing at least from like co-ops and infras that this is something that convinces buyers to get Heraclea on their shelves.
It's compelling for
Yeah,
sure.
it is, and it is part of the reason why this is happening. But that's, like I said, the real reason we wanted to get verified. And it's not inexpensive. It's a very expensive process to get verified, is because, like I said, I mean, there are a lot of like buzzword using of those things, and I started feeling not comfortable using those without verification.
You see that all the time in coffee, all the time. It is crazy. When it comes to what funding, is it just the family still funding the business, and now potential revenue of the business is keeping you guys in? Okay.
It is a family business. It is funded by our family. That doesn't mean we're against investors, but there are strategic investors, and then there are VC type investors.
Yeah.
And there's a distinction. So like if there's an investor looking to get into olive oil and looking for it for the long term, 10-year, 20-year span, which God knows, like if you can find that person, then like those conversations can be made, but not with like short-sighted investors who are looking to get in and get out in like 2 year, 3 or 5 years.
Yeah, the majority of them.
That's not the right company. This is not the right company for
the Chobani family comes to mind, the way they approached business.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've spoken to them.
I haven't, but I know him.
Yeah.
We share a similar origin. Yeah, that's a good investor.
That's sort of your North Star.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. To me, Chobani is an incredible company that is so not talked about as much as they should be. He essentially made, I don't know how many, hundreds of employees millionaires, employee stock options. I mean, really took care of them, and created a product that went from zero to greatness pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I think the part that deserves the most important thing is you're doing it when there's nothing, like there's no revenue or anything, and you're giving back to your workers, which is what we're doing with fair trade. So like from now on, for every 1 liter of oil you buy from Heraclea, 50 cents is being put in a fund that is owned by workers.
Oh, wow.
And at the end of a year, God knows how much dollar is in that account. Workers get together, they do a needs assessment, figure out projects that they want to invest in, and they use that money to invest in projects that they decide on. That's the beautiful part about fair trade.
That's amazing. Wow. And how much is it for people wondering?
So early and mature harvest, the white and black
bottle?
bottles are $32.
Okay.
Those are 16.9 ounces. And this is the everything oil, which is a blend of early and mature. But because it comes in a larger size and not glass, it is more affordable, $34.99.
Okay.
And then the infused oils, which are right now chili, garlic, lemon, and rosemary, they're $12.99.
Okay. I've been to one olive oil tasting in Los Olivos, and they put them all in these little cups with little bread. But you're saying that the right way to taste it is just on its own, without the bread, almost like a wine tasting.
Yes. So there are tasting cups specifically for olive oil tasting, and the high-end cups, they actually make sure you don't see the color of the oil.
Oh,
because
wow.
a lot of people think when the oil is green that it is pure and very high quality.
Okay.
But the first thing they teach you in olive oil tasting is color is irrelevant to the quality.
Okay.
So any taster actually shouldn't be seeing the color and be influenced by it.
What should you be looking for? Is it clarity? What's the or any?
It's the first thing is
taste?
smell.
Okay.
And there are different positions you hold the cup to your nose, so that you can assess the strength of the smell.
The aromas. Yeah.
So if it's like if you can get it from far, the tomato stem or like freshly cut grass, versus you can only smell them when you bring it closer. This is one factor. And then you sip, and once you do that, you sip the oil, and then you aerate it, like the thing I showed you, like, and then you're supposed to now have those aromas in your mouth. Are you able to do so? And then you sip it, and then it's supposed to burn your throat, but like not much.
Okay, so a
If
little
it's-
acidity, is it? Or is
It's
it?
not acidity, it's the
Okay.
polyphenols in the oil, antioxidants,
Okay.
that burn your throat. But if it's excessive, it means they're mixing the leaves with the olives when they're pressing. So there's a
Wow.
balance to it.
Okay.
Shouldn't go too far. It shouldn't make you choke like,
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of different things. And polyphenols, antioxidants,
Mm-hmm.
is one thing that a lot of consumers are switching to olive oil from
Mm-hmm.
other oils. And that is basically, an olive oil will have more antioxidants if it comes from olive groves versus olive farms. If you plant olive trees, put irrigation, fertilize them, basically like make them thrive with nutrients and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
the tree has less incentive to produce antioxidants because you produce antioxidants to survive. But if you're giving the tree everything,
Sure.
they have no
Interesting.
incentive to
There's
produce.
no stress.
Yes,
Just like humans.
yes,
You need to give them stress.
exactly. Versus if it grows, like in the case of Heraclea, there's no artificial irrigation, no nothing. You balance the intake of limited nutrients by pruning. So you cut the branches of the tree every year,
Okay.
so that like the limited nutrients only go to the branches that matter the most, that produce the olives.
Yeah.
But there is a little bit of stress still because supply is limited, nutrient supply. And the tree produces antioxidants, aka polyphenols, to survive. And that transcends from the olives into the oil. And that's what makes small batch.
That's amazing.
That's why we call it premium. That's
Yeah.
the reason.
So this is a real question. How long should I have a bottle?
The moment you open it,
Yeah.
I
How
would
long is
say-
it good for, or ideally?
I would say a month.
A month.
Yeah.
So you should use the whole thing in a month, ideally.
If you want to like really, really enjoy it fresh.
Okay.
But we say 3 months
Okay.
because, that's for regulatory purposes.
Okay.
But when I open a bottle, I try to finish it in like 2 weeks.
Wow.
And you shouldn't keep it on your countertop next to your stove.
You shouldn't.
You shouldn't.
You should keep it in the dark.
You should keep it in the dark and away from heat. Like I said, direct or indirect heat is the enemy of good olive oil.
Okay.
Sunlight is the enemy of good olive oil. That's why these are UV coated.
Okay.
A lot of one of the feedbacks was when we were making the branding, well, why don't you keep it in transparent glass so that like
Sure.
people see the color? Yes, if you're caring too much about the looks,
Yeah.
but if your goal is to preserve the oil and its quality so that when it reaches your customer it's fresh, you
Yeah.
have to UV coat it, and that's an additional expense, by the way.
Totally. It's a lot with they do the same thing with like whiskey and scotch. They put it in a box, and so they have a beautiful bottle, but then it's in a case, and so that's the ideal. That's fascinating. So what are you looking to get out of Expo West? What are your goals for the week?
Well, meeting with buyers who are interested in the product, I think, and also like I see expos as opportunities to build my skills. So
Okay.
like I'm dealing with thousands of people. I'm usually not the most talkative.
Okay.
Like especially I don't like pitching myself.
Sure.
But in expos, like you have to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's something I lack a little. So it's always good opportunity to
It's a new skill.
express my story and build those skills as well.
The story matters. I think the story is everything. It's a great story. Tell people where they can find you, where they can support the brand, where they can follow.
Yeah, they can go to heraclea.co and shop directly from us. If they want next day delivery, they can use Amazon. And if they're in Northwest, I think we're pretty much everywhere in the Northwest region. Texas watchers can go to Central Market and find us. And just stop by your co-op or infra store in your neighborhood, and there's a chance you'll see us. If not, tell them to find and get Heraclea. That could be helpful.
Heraclea. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yeah,
I
thank
appreciate
you for having us.
Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, share with your friends, your family, or anyone you might think might benefit from the conversation we've had today. And if you haven't already, please take a moment to leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. We'd greatly appreciate it. Your feedback helps us improve and reach more people who can benefit from our discussions. The best way to stay connected with us and get the latest updates on future episodes is through our social media channels. You can find us at Startup Storefront. We'll be back next Tuesday with another great episode. See you then.